And that won't hurt.
All right.
That will assist our sales ability.
Okay.
That's yours. That's
Good
great.
evening. I'd like to call to order the Sister Cities Commission meeting for Monday, November 7th. And we'll start with roll call.
Present, I have Dick Saboth, Gary Klimek, Michelle Markgraf, Jane Mady Hulke, Larry Mack, Carolyn Marty, Steve Balza, Brian Filzen, and Terry Sweeney. Absent Jeremy Reed, Keith Roloff, John Volbert.
All right. Next, I need, has everybody reviewed the minutes? And I realize that we don't have them in front of us, so if you haven't reviewed them at home, we'll have to do so when you get home. We'll need approval of the minutes for October 3rd, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our financial report, everything is, let's see, and I got to pull it all apart. Right now, we had expenses of $824.50. Other than that was for Felix and some of his expenses. It was for the recognition plaque, the polo shirts, the travel tour flyers, the welcome and farewell receptions, magnetic sign for the parade. We had to order additional ones because we had 2 vehicles in the parade. And then the car rental of $150 came to $824.50. And our revenue was $66.85 in interest. And we had, from the Brad stand, we made $288.75. So, along with the tips that we had reported before. So we have a balance of $13,073.05. Then when we look at the detail versus the budget, again, it shows we had a stipend of $275 that went out. That was the last stipend for Felix. That went out on the 15th, and all of his are listed. Terry was reimbursed for mileage and parking of $122.25. And I believe mine's on there. Nope. So that's where we stand with our budget. Are there any questions? If not, I need a motion.
I move to accept the report.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have on the agenda was a recap of the Hans Juice Cultural Exchange Program for 2022. And we have both of the host families here. And then do either one of you have anything you want to recap from Felix's visit?
Oh, excuse me, was kind of a kneecap for the mayor and his wife. Felix liked to do things at the last minute, and he left most of the memorabilia he collected in his 3 months here as he was traveling around the country. And the Sweeneys were kind enough to pack it up and mail it to Germany, which Felix should have done. And I really feel it's appropriate that the commission reimburse the Sweeneys for the postage. They want to put up with the hassle, and I think it's reasonable that he have those items. I'm just disappointed that he didn't deal with it personally.
I know that.
Can make it for the next agenda because Lisa Pelza wants to deal with it. It was $117.
Yeah.
And so,
Let's have it on the next agenda then.
I know that the last day was kind of when I picked him up, he changed the time that he was going to leave. And we were pulling away from the mayor's house, and he got a phone call, and the people that were going to host him for the next 2 days decided they weren't going to host him for the next 2 days. And I'm going like, he goes, well, we can just go. No, I'm not leaving you downtown St. Paul by yourself. He did find somebody that would host him, and so we didn't get home until 8:30 that night. My plans had to be changed for the whole afternoon, but on the way home, he texted me and asked me where I was, and I said, Jordan, and I said, what? So I called him, I said, why? Well, I have the keys to my car. I said, put them in the mail. As I wasn't gonna turn around at that point and go back, so.
Classic.
Yeah, so it kind of makes me wonder how he's doing now as he's traveling across from one side of the United States to the other, how he's doing, and I have not heard anything, so, and I asked the mayor, nobody's heard how he's doing, so. Just some things that we need to keep in mind for the next time. I will, under new business, I have something else to discuss about Sister Cities, so we'll handle it there.
He got an offer to work for 3M. I don't know how serious or developed that offer was.
It was serious.
Yeah.
He's still thinking about it.
Okay.
It is serious.
He actually told me he's really thinking about it. He was very serious about it. He just wanted to get through all this that he wanted to do. And then there was one place in Denmark he wanted to check with that he thought maybe he would was interested in as well. But he is, when I talked to him, he was considering it. So,
And just maybe to touch base at 3M, we got in some new robots, and it was actually a company that he had done an internship in Germany. So he was actually able to show some of our guys, and then he was able to work with the technician from that company with that robot in capacities. So he was an asset to have for some automation activities.
so who knows? He might be back. We'll get to see him within the community.
Two questions. One, is that unprecedented? Have we ever had an intern that ends up staying here permanently or long-term?
We've had them come back a lot.
But
And
not,
sometimes they stay a couple weeks after it.
but
Nobody
never.
else has offered a
not-
job that I know of
No.
since I've been on.
There were some visa questions, and if he can
Yeah.
get a, just,
Permanent work visa.
but I know staff, approached him with some opportunities, and he's got to work through some things.
Second question I had is, I believe this is the first time we've done 2 instead of 3 host homes. Is that correct? Just kind of get feedback from the two of you. Is that a lengthy stay? Is that too long? Is that something we should continue, or should we look at going back to 3?
I think the feeling that we went to 2 was you really got a chance to have them for a while. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but it seemed like when we had 3, all of a sudden they get used to one place and then they're moving on right away.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys felt about it.
To be honest, we're probably not going to do it again simply because we're too old. Felix 24, I'm
That-
68.
That's a good point. We really should
How do
look
you think
for.
I feel?
Yeah, exactly. And there was a definite lack of mutual interests, things to do at night sort of thing. But on the other hand, he found plenty to do on his own. He befriended the Concord Singers and several 3M mates. The guy did an awful lot. So aside from my personal thought, I didn't, it wasn't too much for us.
Time.
Be nice to find a host family too that maybe has somebody in that age bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
too.
well, do you really want your kids at 25 living with you?
Heck, I've had one much later than that. So
Such broad shoulders. With regard to my thoughts on it, housing him was not a problem. The one thing that we need to stress with any inbound, and I guess point out to any outbound, is they can't expect to be entertained on a daily basis. I understand that some people in the past had that challenge with some of the interns that were here, and they just really expected to be taken here and there, just have something for me to do every day, and that's not the game. They've got to make their own acquaintances, and that needs to be pointed out before an inbound comes or an outbound goes.
Steve, we had like 4 different ones in all, and nobody ever expected that. Of the 4 that we had, nobody did. So, I don't know, maybe it was a boy thing or a Felix thing, or, I don't know.
I had
And-
hosted a grounds, 2 of them, and they never expected
Yeah,
anything.
never really. They were happy sometimes, especially if they worked a hard job. Like I had a girl at the hospital, she was exhausted at night. She was happy to go upstairs to the suite and relax. So, every kid we had was different.
it all depends on their personality, basically.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean,
So-
the 3 or 4 that I've hosted in the past, they met so many people and they were gone
Gone, yeah.
24/7. It was hard to get on their schedules if you wanted.
Well,
Yeah, that's
I-
true, that's true.
I'm not fussing about our experience, but I guess I was listening to what other people have said about some of the guests that they have had, and I think it needs to be pointed out that need independent-minded people.
So let's move on. We have on the next on the agenda, the 2023 tour to Germany from Joe Meyer. And to that, I wanted to add that we did hear back from Germany, and the mayor cannot be there. It was attached to the agenda. I'm looking for it now.
24th to the 25th of May.
Yeah,
That's
so
it.
the second in charge is going to be there.
It's probably not a Lord Mayor, he just says the first Mayor,
Yeah, it
Bendel.
said that the,
Confusing. First mayor, second in charge.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Assistant.
We would love to have, oh, there's another one. Anyhow, there is going to be somebody that's going to meet you and plan a reception. Okay, it just won't be the Lord
Well,
Mayor.
that's fine, and Andy,
He's got something else.
their structure over there is they have the Oberbürgermeister, who is traveling, and the Eberburgermeisters, there's a couple of them. And one of those will
Yeah, we'll be there.
host the reception for us, and
Yep.
I'll get a note off to them to clarify details so we can have it appropriate in our itinerary.
Okay. Okay. So, and then we included the brochure in the printout and along with all the information so you can look at it and you can share it with others. Lisa does have them put out around, and I think they took some down to the chamber as well. So they're out there, so if anybody's interested, they can pick them up and get all the information from there.
Okay, for some further detail, there are 6 deposits in the bank presently, and there are a number of people that have been talking with Joe and indicated interest, and I've heard of some, including myself, that have yet to pony up the deposit. So
Okay.
I think this is going to work out nicely, and the more the merrier.
Okay.
Are we going to throw it on the city's Facebook page? Has
I
that been-
thought Lisa was going to.
I haven't seen it yet.
Well, I'm not good at
Discussed
doing
at
that,
one
and I think if the tour committee could have a very brief meeting after this, we could talk about some of our advertising strategies. Unfortunately, Mr. Meyer is out of town working this week, so he could not be here.
I talked to him last week. Okay. So let's move on to new business. We need a motion, a second, to approve the reimbursement to me for the 10 meals at Felix's farewell reception for the amount of $75.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
I
Opposed? Okay. We also need a motion and a second to approve the payment to Printware Graphics for the following: Sister Cities Commission polo shirts ordered in the amount of $164, and they replace the names on the magnetic signs and new magnetic signs for the outbound intern used for the parade in the amount of $144.
would move it, and that do we have to name which fund it should come out of?
No,
That-
can they both?
I think it all should come out of our larger fund, not the one from the city, but the,
It'll come out of our,
I'll second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next on the business is the recognition award. John Vorick, Carolyn Smith, Steve Balza, and Keith Roloff. You will need to get together and select the 2022 recognition award recipient. Select a date and location to hold the award reception, and it'll be held in January. And then order a plaque for that individual. Lisa did include a list of the previous award winners for you to look at, and so that you know who has received it in the past. And then if you'd bring that back to the next meeting as to your decision and Then we have opened the application period for the 2023 Hans Joe's Cultural Exchange Program to November 15th through December 31st. And that's the time frame that was approved at the 2019 meeting. That was before COVID. So we can move that deadline if we want to up to January 31st. But right now it stands, it'll end on December 31st. And in there was also a copy of the announcement for the paper that's going out, and then as to where some of the places it's been sent to for candidates. Okay. And I didn't get a chance to call Lisa today. I was going to ask her if we've heard if anybody's interested. I've heard there might be a couple, but I can't remember who told me they knew of some that might be interested. And the reason why I say a couple is because Germany has asked us if we would consider hosting 2 next year from Germany. And that was in a letter that we received from Anna Marie. She said, I got one special question concerning the exchange program. At the moment, we are thinking about which person we could send to New Ulm in 2023. We still have Jasmine Heim in mind that was chosen for the exchange in 2020 and wasn't able to travel until now. But we would also love to give one more young person the opportunity to visit in 2023. Otherwise, some young person from Ulm and Nyulm would be very disappointed if we don't start a new round of applications for the program of 2023. Would it be possible to send 2 young persons? And we would be very happy if you could offer us the same as well.
Madam Chair, a couple of concerns I would have is A, host families, and B, coming up with host internship positions. It's worked remarkably well with some of the employers in town, but I guess sometimes one has to really scratch, and when we have had to scratch, we've tried to place them within the city departments, but I think it's a more difficult well to go to in a community of our size versus theirs.
I think we have to take a look at also, for our vehicle rental,
Yep.
that we'd have to stagger that. And then I think we should base the consideration off of what kind of occupation or internship he or she is looking for within our community, if we could find before we commit, and
And
just.
to be honest, I can't remember what Jasmine's interests were. Okay, it's been 2 years, I think, since actually her and Felix were scheduled to come at the same time during COVID. So during that period, they were supposed to. So I agree with Larry. We need to look at. There's several things we have to look at. We have to look at. Can we have enough host families? Can we find the opportunities for them to do something here? How are we going to manage rental? Because right now, we get it from Jensen's, and when we thought there might be 2, they could only do 1 rental. So then how are we going to do that? And if it's staggered so that one comes and the other one doesn't come until the other one, maybe they could continue that. There's a lot unknown as to whether or not. I think we need to table this and find out some more details.
When do they need an answer?
They did not request any specific time frame. Okay, Anna didn't. And I can ask Anna or Lisa to get in contact with Anna and answer some of those questions for us.
Madam Chair, maybe we could ask Lisa to ask the question of possibly resubmitting their application so we can review
Yep.
both applications and see, as a commission, we might know of an employer possibly, and then tailor it around that.
They've got the money.
Yeah.
Sometimes groups get into the mindset, oh, we've got this much, we've got to keep it. Oh, baloney. 10 years ago, you didn't have a fraction of that and you made it work perfectly fine. You keep, not you or we, but we keep building and there's plenty of money. So that should not be an issue.
No.
Even if we had to pay a discounted price for a second car,
No.
we could afford it.
I would think
That's
one of the
true.
other dealerships would come forward on that anyway.
And that's the other thing.
Yeah.
We've never approached anybody else but
I have no
Jensen.
problem going to like Chuck Spaeth or even Wheelborg and asking them. I mean, because I do business with them all the time through the station and everything. And I would think they want to get involved in a way. And the other side of it, and I understand the part with the job, if we can find something, but I think for our organization, it would be beneficial to do two. And have it a little, it's staggered though. It should be staggered.
Yeah.
So we're talking about sister cities more than 2 months, 2.5 months out of the year. Maybe we're talking 6 months. I think it would benefit our organization if we can make it work.
And maybe staggered, it'll be easy because we have them come when it works for them. We've had them come during the winter, we've had them come during the summer. So, and at different times of the year, so maybe that wouldn't be such a big option.
I had a job set up for somebody out at Design Home, and they were all set. They were excited about taking, do you remember why
She
that?
was interior design.
That's right.
That's right.
Somebody from interior design, and then they didn't come, or she.
Maybe that is
I don't-
Jasmine.
That might have been Jasmine.
Yeah. That might be Jasmine. If that is, we may have a job. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know I had one set up.
Well, I think having a letter go out and say, we have potential interest, here are the questions that we need answered so that we have a possibility to make it happen.
Well, and if we're gonna go out and advertise for looking for candidates, maybe we also advertise that we're looking for host families within the
At the
community.
same time.
Keep that communication out and make sure that the friends of the commission are aware of it and
Ellie made homemade spätzle last night from the utensil that Felix gave us as a gift. Mandolin or something, is it?
Yep.
Yeah. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a benefit
Yeah,
to
if you
be
get the
able.
recipe right, it really is good stuff.
Okay, so I will follow up with Lisa with those, and then let Anna Marie know that it is a possibility, we are looking at it, and that we just need some questions answered before we make a decision. Okay.
Question on our promotion, it does say candidates must be within the age group of 18 to 35 years old and show interest in German culture. Is that truly sufficient to survive in Germany, having interest in German culture, or do they need a certain proficiency in language?
Actually, we asked that question a couple of years ago, and not so much anymore.
Okay, they can get by without it.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing if they don't have a basic understanding, though. It truly is.
But they don't have to speak fluent German.
Should there be some statement to that effect in there? I'm sure that's a question that would come up if I'm considering applying for this. I know no German. Am I going to be able to survive
Okay.
and thrive?
I don't think we've ever have we had somebody who didn't have any skills?
that would be-
We had a couple of people a bunch of years ago that applied, and they weren't quite good enough, but then they went anyway the year after that.
Was that the two that went?
I think it was one of the Bregelman boys we turned down one year when we had a lot of choices. I don't know if it was John, and now he lives over there.
I know, I just
Wasn't
say
it
that.
that-
One year,
Does that
we
sound familiar?
sent two, and there was a female that we
that
sent.
was
And
Ann Berkman's daughter.
yeah, and she didn't have a lot of
Correct.
German, but she seemed to do okay.
Yeah, and so did the Bregelman boy, obviously. So, you know what? You dive right in when you get there.
I mean, I guess, and we asked
Well, I mean-
Dorothea if it was really a major concern and important, and she said not so much anymore. And if you notice, when they come here, a lot of them can speak just as English as we can. I mean, it's pretty much what they use.
Yeah, well, they have way more than 7 years of English, and I just don't think we should consider someone who has never taken at least high school German. Just to have some, or been to a German camp. I feel it's embarrassing to go over there and not be able to greet people in their own tongue and expect to be catered to in that fashion.
We've had that problem, Dick. Let's not worry about something that hasn't, I don't know.
Now let's see what the candidates have in capacity. I
I
just
know they
think
really
it's
limited
important.
us a few years because we had some quality candidates,
did.
but they didn't have much command of the German language. And
Yeah. So we'll have to, we'll just, if you want that change, I can ask Lisa to change this, to add that, have some knowledge of German.
Well, if not, maybe on the application, if there could be a paragraph that just, that would be a question I would have if I was applying for, what is the expected level of
Okay.
of fluency for the German language? And if it is minimal to none, we could note that on there, but if, you might want to even say that your experience would be improved if you have
Yeah.
some level of German
Okay.
understanding.
Okay. I will follow up with Lisa on that.
And we've sent candidates that had some command of the language, but should not have been the person we sent. I'm serious.
Yeah,
There it is.
And are we going to hold people, I mean, I know when I was on that committee, we had a hard time getting candidates.
Yeah.
And if it is not a big deal in Germany, I wonder if we should mention it. I mean, sure, it would be nice, I understand what you're saying, Dick, but are we getting ample number of candidates? When I was on that committee, we got one or two, and there was one year where we really didn't have much to choose from.
yeah. And we always want to make sure we have somebody to send,
Yeah.
always, because I think that's worse than,
If they don't feel real strong about it, I don't know that we have to.
Another question in that regard. Do we have candidates waiting in the wings that were backed up from 2020? Or
we
have
do
all of
not.
ours
We
been?
do have one application that was submitted, and I got that maybe this summer, and he actually brought it in before our for our meeting, but he had to leave, he couldn't stay. And Lisa has that on file. And he was working here in the community and had read something about our exchange program and was interested in going. So we do have one, and he is, I think he was in his 20s. But I can't remember his name, to be honest.
No, I
It'll
remember.
look good on a resume, doesn't it? In any kind of job, that you were willing to jump into the fire and learn as you go for 3 months, and you had the wherewithal and the basic skills to make that work. That's got to look good on any resume,
Yep.
any position.
So I'll follow up with Lisa on that, okay? All right. Excuse me. Are there any announcements from anyone besides the one about that they'd like to send to here next from myself?
Yes, I'd have one, Madam Chair, as partially to talk about what's happened with the Sister Cities program this year, and then springboarding from there into talking about the tour that we've got coming up. I've been able, with Mr. Filson's assistance, get scheduled for community fairs on the 15th of November. And I will endeavor to get Mr. Meyer there if he's in town, and we can both talk about Sister Cities in general and then move on into why movement between our communities of citizens is a valuable thing, and talk about the tour. So that's on the tap.
Madam Chair, I have a question for the committee as a whole. I'm on the Downtown Action Team, and they're talking about bringing the Ulm Sparrow to New Ulm as little statues all over New Ulm so that both visitors and people who live here can go and find the sparrows throughout. And I mentioned that we might be interested in partnering with them, and if you feel that might be something good for Sister Cities to take up, I'll get more information and bring it back to us.
So do it at Christmas time, or
It'll be permanent places where people go and look for these sparrows.
Oh, they could have a sparrow hunt instead of a scavenger
Yes.
hunt.
Idea. And we have a sparrow already out on our
and I have
kiosk.
a sparrow too.
And I have one
So-
on my mantle.
7 of them.
We all
They make
do.
quite a mess.
Looking for maybe, that we
Yeah.
would say sponsored by the Sister Cities
Yeah, they would
Commission?
do the work and we would
Put our
provide
name out there
money.
as well.
Very nice. I like
I
it.
like it too.
All right, I'll ask them for more information for next time.
And would you give it to Lisa and ask her to put it on the agenda for the next meeting so that we can fully discuss it,
I will do that.
okay?
Madam Chair, 6.1, we skipped, and is that because it was Jeremy that was still looking into that, or?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I didn't hear anything from Jeremy, and we're going to have to push that forward to the next meeting when Jeremy's here, because he's the one that's talking with the teachers, and we really can't proceed until we know.
Well, one thing that I think we should at least kick around before Jeremy gets back is, what have we traditionally offered the instructors with regard to a stipend? You know, we can't expect people to just volunteer to do a 3-hour-day thing for a week or 2 weeks and just expect them to do it for nothing. I think we should have some thoughts in our mind of what
I don't think
we can
have
afford to
anybody
do
yet,
so.
though. Before we do a number, first of all, Kurt Whitmer's house, when he did it, I'm sure we paid him money, but we had him. I mean, I would say the first thing to do is get somebody to do it from the college, and then banter about money. I don't see talking about money makes any sense now.
And
do
I'll
you?
ask Lisa if she can dig back through and see what the budget
I'm
was
sure.
at that time.
Contact Kurt Whitmer's house and see if he's interested in coming to New Ulm.
I think
for
he
a
lives
couple
in
weeks.
Germany now.
He does. He lives in Munich.
Yeah,
I think he'd be well qualified to
you
teach
would,
if he's
and
willing
he's
to come back.
delightful, yeah.
Okay, I'll follow up with Lisa for a budget, see if she can go back and find, there's got to be a record of what the budget was when you hosted it years ago.
I fed them every day. If there was a budget for feeding them, I'd go get food, snacks and stuff. So we had that, I know. So I'm sure we paid him.
Yeah.
We put, that committee or Jeremy's group, puts together a little outline if he's got a instructor in mind and say,
Share that with him.
if it's a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and some sort of time period, and just kind of put out the price of what he thinks he or she might need to entertain some classroom training.
All right. Is there anything else? If not, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Can I have a,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Meeting adjourned.